So how do opioids sort of prevent, the transmission of nociceptive information from the body to the brain? How do they act as an analgesic? Well, they can act both presynaptically and postsynaptically to produce an analgesic effect. Presynaptically, they block typically calcium channels on nociceptive, sort of afferent nerves to inhibit the release of neurotransmitters, which contribute to the nociceptive pathways. Postsynaptically, they can open potassium channels, often through a GPCR mediated mechanism, a metabotropic mechanism. And that would, if you open potassium channels, right, you'll have potassium outflow, you'll increase the charge difference, you'll hyperpolarize those cells and make them less likely to fire. It increases the action potential necessary to generate nociceptive transmission. Now, in the brainstem, opioids will act in a structure called the periaqueductal gray, or the PAG. It's in the midbrain of the brainstem, and it has sort of primary descending control, from the brainstem down over the modulation of pain. And opioids will actually inhibit GABAergic interneurons, so neurons that are in the PAG, in the periaqueductal gray, that release GABA, which is, of course, inhibitory. So if you inhibit the inhibitors, you're gonna actually allow for excitation, right, down. And so the PAG will thus, when the GABAergic inhibition is removed because of the opioid action, it's going to excite neurons in its targets, including targets in the raphe nuclei, which are, of course, serotonergic neurons. We talked a lot about them sort of contributing to the reticular activating system, right? That set of modulatory, projections into the brain that are important for our level of alertness or arousal. But they also have descending serotonergic projections from the raphe nuclei, and these will actually go into the spinal cord and excite opioidergic. That's what they call them. Neurons that release opioids as their neurotransmitters. Opioidergic interneurons in the spinal cord, in the dorsal horns of the spinal cord, which will inhibit, the nociceptive input, the flow of information, basically up the spinal cord, to maps in the brain. So there are a number of different ways that these opioids can actually act. And again, as we discussed earlier, tolerance to the effect of exogenously applied or made bioavailable opioids develops rather quickly because this pathway, right, these pathways that are involved in, detection of injury to the body and the felt perceptual experience that can really motivate, favoring or, seeking assistance, all these different things, attention to the injury, are so critical,